Now I'm going to show you a new idea, which is a leaf, and you can do this slightly differently to me. You know, you can have bigger spaces, smaller spaces, twist it up. I just want you to use your imagination. So I don't want you always to follow exactly what someone's doing, as in design wise. You know, you can use your imagination, but maybe do this the first time the way I'm doing it, and then you can go free and design other things later on. So what we need for the leaf shape is your pattern, and then we need 2 pieces of that pattern. So I've just cut these out of the leather. This is my leather I've been using for everything else. Just put that to the side a minute. And then this is the right side and this is the wrong side. So it depends what side you want to show. Maybe you want to show the wrong side. But this is going to go in the middle for us. And then we want a nice piece of wire that's going to be long enough to go through. This one is quite long, so I can always chop a bit off the end later. But I've got more, the more the merrier. Then we want to straighten this slightly, so I've got a few little kinks in here. I was saying earlier to straighten it, you straighten it with your fingers, but if you're going to do it in a quicker way, you can actually get a cloth and then run it up. So I'm still using my fingers. If you use 2, it's good, and then 1 thumb on top. So what I'm doing is pushing up with my fingers and down with my thumb, and then it sort of smooths it out because it makes it straighter. And then if you've got any kinky bits, you can then use your thumb and finger to push them out. So that's how it's working. To get real big kinks out, or little tiny kinks that are annoying, I would really push it that way a lot more and then stretch it out. So I'm getting rid of the kinks by really pushing up with my finger and my thumb down. That's if you get an awful lot of them. Okay, so I can feel all of the, it feels much smoother. All the little kinks and the big fat one is gone. You probably couldn't see it that easily, but I can feel them. And now I'm going to stretch it by putting my 2 fingers there and 1 finger there. So to do it really tightly and to really get rid of them, I'm using 1 finger and 1 thumb, 1 finger to the left and the thumb to the right. So I'm sort of twisting my fingers across. But to do it straighter, I'm using 2 fingers and 1 thumb on top in the middle. So I'm pushing it back the other way. Now that's quite straight in that section, so we can use that. So that will go down into this part of the leaf. I don't want it pinging out all over the place. So to get any ping out, you just fold it the opposite way. So if it's curving that way, then I'll bend it so it's curving more out. So that'll sit in the middle of the leaf, and then we put the other piece on top, and then I'll cut around it all afterwards. But first of all, I want to glue this in. Try and get rid of as much of the spring as possible, because otherwise if it just springs out, it's not going to stay down. Okay, then we've got some Yoo-Hoo glue, which is a fabric Yoo-Hoo glue. You could use the other Yoo-Hoo if you need it to be stronger. This one is just a white. Uh-oh. Mine's coming out my wrong end here. I love getting my fingers all over everything. Use a reasonable amount to get that sticking down. And then we can put more glue on the outside. Crazy bottle. Then just mark out where you'll put your finger down where your wire is, and then push out from there. And I should have, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have so much glue on my fingers, because you really don't want to get any on this side. Like I have got there. Getting this cloth and just smoothing it out, so that I can put more pressure. And really put pressure down where the wire is, so you can get that groove out. Yeah, so we've got a bit of a leaf shape happening. We're going to work on that more when it's dry, but we're getting somewhere. That's stuck down. I'm going to leave it to dry. I've just dented in this section here, down here, and down this side, just to make that stick out a bit more. Okay, we leave that to dry for maybe for half an hour and come back and work on that. So here we are with the dried leaf. It's not completely dry yet, but I'm just going to cut it for now. It's going to be dry soon. As I just want to trim off some of this edge here, because you see we've got the rough edges, but that's fine because we can cut them off. And I haven't put the wire right up to the very end, so I can still trim a bit off, but I don't want to trim so much that that is exposed. So it's just a little bit. And with leather, they do tend to blunt your scissors a little bit, so if you use paper scissors, be better. Don't use your fabric scissors. Make sure they're sharp. Yeah, so we just trimmed it on the edges, and then we can cut some angles into it to make it look more like a leaf. So what I've done is cut up at an angle, so I'm not cutting straight, I'm cutting at an angle and cutting all the way up. I'm cutting about 1/2 centimetre for each little thong. You can cut more than that if you want. You could also cut diamond shapes into it, that could be nice. You could just chop now the other way with big spaces, just to see how that looks, because then you're taking chunks out, look a bit more like a Christmas tree, but you can do whatever you fancy. You could cut a big sort of arrow shape, so we've got a point here, point coming down like a feather. So you can cut away to make these look the same as a feather. So if you have some really nice shaped feathers with arrow points, maybe one side bigger than the other side, then you could do that, and you can mess around and you can play with what you want and make what you want. Just brush those down a sec. So this is the leaf, this is the better side with our groove. And then what you can do is twist it up, because it's got the wire in it. So you're then able to twist it into a certain way to make it look really interesting. So you see that? So that then means all of these are coming out. Now I've got one side longer than the other. If I wanted to trim it, I can, or I can keep one side longer than the other. So, you can play around with this, and I want you to use your imagination. But for now, just try this out and see what happens. I could have bent it the other way as well, and see how that looks. But that could be quite nice, and it could be quite nice on a piece. But you see now I've got them, they're a similar colour. So I'm going to zhuzh a little bit of spray on this, just to sort of see what other colour I can get. But also play around with the shape, what's going on. You might want it to come up and over. You might want it to come down. You might want this to open up a bit more or come up. You might want this to be part of it. So this could be nice if we just curl this around as well. You can keep that on, like a lot of it, or you can have a small amount. So it could be nice if we are just keeping some of that wire on, and then we're having this curve around. Or you can chop it off. Now if you've got some tape, which is a tape from a gardening shop, which you can just wind around that, you can do that. Or you can get a bit of ribbon and you can just wind that round. You can get a bit of sort of strong gaffer tape and put that around, because then that's shiny. So you can decide what you want to put on this edge just to finish it off nicely. Now, right, I'm going to get some spray and some tape, and then we can go from there. Okay, this is an exciting bit. You can see I've got a mess here. What I've got is the sprays. I'm going to just spray this little bit of grey slightly. So the spray that I normally use is Montana. This is a gold Montana, and it's an acrylic spray. This one at the top here, it shows you what colour it's going to be. This is silver, so I could use silver on this. I think that'd be really nice with the grey. Okay, so this is silver. The colour at the top is normally the shows you what colour's inside, and silver would look really nice on this if you want that modernist look. I'm going to go for black today. This is a Liquitex, so that's another one you could do. That gives more of a shinier look to it, but this one's actually metallic, so this one would give a shiny look as well. You can get matte or you can get metallic. Normally I always use this one. This is the old one that I used to use, but now I'm using Montana, or you can use Oasis. So whenever I spray anything and you're thinking what one, you're asking me in the Facebook group, what one is it that you're using, what spray is it, then it's Montana that I use, or the Oasis, which you can get for flowers. Now, you make sure you're in a ventilated area. So I've got the door open here. I shouldn't be doing this inside at all. I should be doing it outside or wearing a mask. So I'm only just going to do a slight little squiz of spray. I've already done some of it. Normally you just do this outside, or like I say, wear a mask if you're going to be inside. I've got my door open. just so I can let the air out. And I don't want it to smell. It really stinks. So you don't want it to be stinking your house out, smelling, you know, anywhere. So just be aware of that. It does smell. Also, some of the sprays can just go off and touch other things. You know, you think you're spraying here and some little bits are going off. So make sure that you're covering your table and covering everything so that nothing is shooting off. Now, this is the black. You shake this quite well. So shake this for about 5 minutes, they say. I just do it for a few minutes if I've used it before, but you know, really, if you want to do it properly, shake that for 5 minutes. And then when you finish spraying, you tip it upside down and you keep spraying until the spray becomes clear. And that means then the nozzle is then clear. Otherwise, if you just put it back into your cupboard like that, then the nozzle will block up with paint and you won't be able to use it again. So you can buy lots of little nozzles. I got these from Amazon, you know, just some more heads in case I need them, because the one you buy with the spray always, you know, it just falls apart before you've even finished spraying with it. So you can get some extras. So like I say, go upside down and just spray it. Do this outside, away from anybody. Don't want it spraying onto anybody, in an open-aired area. So when you finish, you just do that. And then keep it away from heat. So when you're storing these, keep them in a dark area, away from any heat, because they can be dangerous. Obviously, they've got gas in there. Another idea would be to put them into maybe a plastic box and seal it, so just lock them away. So if anything dangerous does happen to them, then it's, you know, if they explode for any reason, I've never heard of this happening, but if they did do that, then they would be contained in that box. So I've got them on a shelf, sort of at the back, and just keep them away from other things if you're not putting them in a box. Metal container even, that would be even better, wouldn't it? Just to put them in a metal container, away and keep them safe. So I've already sprayed a little bit of this. So this one is going to go on here. And see, I've just sprayed the bottom and a little bit of the sides there. So when that goes on, it's just going to show up a bit more. So I didn't want it all to be the same colour. So I've just sprayed here. Direct that. It's quite shiny, looks quite nice. And then we've got a little bit up inside there. So I just put a little bit more inside. So the inside looks blackish and the outside is grey here, and just grey just inside. You could also, it's dripping because it's like paint, if you sprayed a little bit onto a plate, then you can dab your finger on it and then you can paint it on things. So you could just paint a little bit on the end here to stop this unravelling if you didn't want to put any tape on it, and just make sure that's all black. But also, if you wanted to do any artwork, just put your finger in it, squiz it over. Acts like paint. All right, so that's great. So we're going to leave that. I'm going to hang it up to dry. So this is how it would look on there. I'm going to leave that to dry, and then we'll come back and we'll attach it all.